Unfortunately, you had to hear me earlier, but I need to introduce these other two gentlemen to you. This is Gabe Landis, and what do you do for Judson?
District Webmaster.
It's our District Webmaster, and Joe Goodrow.
We drink the coffee.
Yes, but they don't make it, so it's... Joe's, what do you do? What's your role?
I do programming.
I do programming. Very good. So we're going to tell you a little bit about kind of what we programmed, what we did, maybe a path you want to take. But before we jump into that, we're definitely going to show you how to do some stuff today. So there'll be a little hands-on, and there's a line on one of my slides that's a little bit snarky, but it says even a CTO can do this. So I didn't say even Lenny, don't shake your head down. So, but I really want to kind of step back for a second, because I know we have trouble in the back corner there. And you know, the good kid's always sitting back.
Yes, but we've got the librarian sitting in front of us. She'll let us appreciate it.
So why do you want to go mobile? We know everyone's surfing the web on mobile devices. You know, personally, we looked at our web traffic and our web servers, and I was actually pretty surprised that our log showed 10% of our traffic was already mobile. We didn't really even know it. So we were already getting the mobile traffic without having anything really available for mobile. We did have some available for them, but we didn't have an app or anything of that nature. So we know the traffic's growing at a very dramatic rate, but the growth potential is phenomenal. So this is mobile traffic as a percent of total internet traffic. I mean, this is just a few years ago down in the zero range. 2010, 4%. Here we are 2 years later, up to 10% of traffic. And I'm not an expert in graphs, but I believe the interpretation of that would mean it's actually growing at a higher rate now than it was a couple of years ago. So if anything, we're going to see that 10% number skyrocket, and you will too, except in Alpine. I'm just kidding. I don't know if the speed of your service matters. So the other kind of fact about this is you don't have to do a mobile app to serve mobile internet. I mean, you can have mobile websites designed for phones and iPads and the like. But at the end of the day, this is a very important note. This is US mobile apps in web consumption in minutes. So this is like typical web browsing. Notice it's now been surpassed by app browsing. People want to consume mobile web via apps. We see it all the time, massive growth in app usages. So just put this in a little context, with 10% of our traffic being mobile, we're now up to 42% of all our phones in the US being smartphones. So there's a huge amount of growth yet there left. And of course, the other dark horse is all the tablet traffic. Tablets are big, but they're not that big in deployment yet. So right now, here we are, 2010, 16.1 million tablets. That's this right here, or 2010, and this is the business tablets. Look here a few years later. So we know tablet growth is just, it's blossoming as we speak. So the mobile, this will be the other huge driver in mobile. Tablets are kind of one of those things, you've probably been on a tablet surfing the web. Sometimes the web works pretty well on a tablet, sometimes not, just depends on the site, what you're looking at. So you don't always need a mobile app on a tablet as much as maybe a phone. Just to throw this in, this is month by month mobile platform growth. Okay, and this is in the US. So basically we have iOS, iPhones, and Android growth. Here's the zero line, and I don't probably have to tell you what the green is. That's negative growth in the BlackBerry market. So I love BlackBerry. Oh well, I wouldn't invest in it. So why actually do the mobile app itself?
Steve,
yes,
I have a question. When you were looking at this stuff, did it ever show like a plateau of smartphone growth and where tablets go, or are you going to continue to see smartphones growing, tablets growing exponentially out? I mean, what's the correlation between the two?
I haven't seen anything, and I'm not sure anyone's ready to call the, make a call on that, because we're seeing just this phenomenal growth, and there's no sign, none of the data shows it stopping.
Yeah, so if you look in 4 years, 147 million tablets, you got to wonder what in that 4-year time what the smartphone growth is going to be. Because what that would tell you is then you have devices or users coming in with multiple devices.
Absolutely. How many of you are here with multiple devices?
No.
I mean, probably a lot of you, so it's a great point. It actually raises the question, though, if we're spending all of our time in our districts developing normal websites, maybe we need to be thinking in reverse for the future.
Exactly.
So we've talked about this. Apps are getting a lot of face time, but we're not sure that it's all for use, for business, for looking at school district. We know there's things on tablets that sometimes consume people's time. They're apps, but they're not necessarily apt to surf the web or look at your school district data. Okay, so we think we need an app, or we might want one, but how do we make one? So one of the things we looked at our own in district, we said we have some awesome guys here, but we're not experts in Android, we're not experts in iOS. We could contract someone out, and there's some folks out in the exhibit hall that probably would write an app or be able to take on that project, but we also have a budget crunch at the same time. We're not hiring more staff, so those things kind of gave us a context for maybe there's another way to build an app. So we found that there's some tools online that allow you to rapidly develop apps. And I mean rapid, really rapid. And they'll show you how rapid in a couple minutes after we show you our app. Literally, and there's my snarky line, CTOs can make an app using this tool. The one we looked at, we'll give you the full list. You can look through and find out what works for you. We like the one that we're using. It's working pretty well. At the end of the day, with a lot of these tools, you can probably leverage your existing staff to make mobile apps, and that's kind of the key. Now there's some caveats. We're going to show you how easy it is to make an app, but then you still got to go through some steps to publish it to the appropriate stores for Android and Apple. We can talk a little bit about that, because that's a little bit of a process, but it's doable. I've done it. These guys have worked on it, so that's kind of that. So we're going to post we haven't really told you on the conference, we'll post all this stuff on our website, so you'll have these links. This is the tool we use to build our app, Conduit Mobile. And I think with that, Joe, you can do a little run through. What device are you running through on? Browser?
That was sweet. Let's try this.
Oh, the app? iPad app?
Do I have it? I'm just kidding. All right, so what I'm going to do is just show you what we've come up with for our district. Out of the box, Conduit Mobile gives you a few basic things that most people can bring into their application. We tried to bring in some existing things that we had. We had to build some custom things for this so that we could best reach all of our users in a way that we felt they would want to use this. So far, the traffic that we've seen indicates that most people are using some of our custom parts of this more than the other parts. The biggest being the Parent Center module, which allows parents to view grades and basically, health data for their kids, books checked out, meals and things like that. That we kind of did, in-house. But a lot of this just comes straight out of the box with Conduit Mobile, where you can just pull in RSS feeds from, existing news sources to get this kind of data here. So I'm just going to step through some of it so you can kind of see what we've got. The first section here is news. It's just the default area where people can come in, see what our news feeds are, click on different things as they see fit, even view the original post, which will take them to an existing browser page and pull up the original website with it. Go down here to Facebook. This pulls in our Facebook feeds, and here, we're able to see anything from the comments that people post to all of the recent posts that we've made. We even had on one of these posts, we go down the comments here. It was this lady Rachel Ramirez on the right. They were kind of sniping about our district and budget cuts that we had to make, as everybody does. And so she was wondering how much it costs, this mobile app to be developed, and she's kind of hinting that it probably costs us a lot of money and we don't have our priorities in the right place. In all reality, it probably cost us less than a couple $100. It was pretty cheap. So we didn't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to do this. We basically did it pretty much for free, using resources we already had, which allows us to reach the people that need to be reached in a way that they want to be reached, and allows us to do it in a pretty cost-effective way. We also
do y'all answer those things?
That social media is managed by our public information officer, who's brand new. We stay out of that. I'm not going to get into
So
Get
they're
in
just,
that
they just
fray.
post and rant.
That'd be tempting, huh?
Yeah, I know, I kinda wanted.
A lot of us have considered making up aliases.
Absolutely.
Can you answer that? Well, actually.
I heard it was $100,000.
You guys are, you're gonna get in there and do that. Nice. What are friends for?
Okay, other things that we've been able to pull into this is our YouTube feed. We have a person in our, I want to say marketing, but what is it?
Community relations, public
Yeah,
information.
communications department. And they put out these videos for different events that our district does. And we pull that in so parents can, see what's going on in the district when it comes to video. We've got photos from different events that the district has, whether it be on a campus level or even district-wide events that parents can log in and kind of see the photo stream from our website on their mobile device. We have a listing of all of our campuses. This just allows them a quick and easy way to, pull up the contact information for a campus if they need to make a phone call, let them know that they're going to be up there to pull their kid out
On
for
a
the day.
smartphone, those numbers get, the smartphones identify them, you just click
Right.
Is there a way to also make it link to their webpage?
There it
I mean,
is.
is that possible?
Everywhere
when
you
you're-
see view original content is actually a link out to, it'd be a link on your mobile device to the original content.
Okay.
So that does bring it up in the browser on within whatever device you're on.
We're on 3G or something here. Let's see. There you go. Yep.
That
I
pulls
was
up
looking
more
at the
details.
campus, so that was, that's one I'll talk about a little bit later, but that's our campus browser on the district website.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, lastly, some other things, I'll just go in and show you, like our Parent Center module, which is just basically a link to our Parent Center mobile page where
And
parents.
just a quick note, you saw it launched a browser, like an Android, it does not launch a browser. That's like basically a bug right now with the mobile app. They're promised to fix, so it should just open right within the app. But at the end of the day, this is what appears in the app on the Android side.
So I'm gonna log in like a parent would to view my students' information. So what we have here is basically the ability for a parent to check these particular portions of their students' progress, whether it be discipline records we have on them, books that they may have checked out from the library, and all of this pulls from other systems that we've already built in-house. And we actually use eSchool Plus as our student information system. We've built some things on top of that so that parents can get a broad array of information from multiple sources in one spot.
And Joe, a good point is students as well can get in here, correct?
Yes.
So students can log in, they can have this app, they can keep tabs on their grades and attendance as well.
All right, so all students in our district have a username and password, and they can use this app to access their grades as well. And we have a lot of kids that do use it. So this is just, this mobile app has allowed us the opportunity to be able to just push all this data out through another medium. And we're actually seeing a lot of growth in it too. We're seeing, we launched this, I think May 1st-ish. And as of right now, we've had over 3,000 installs of the app. We've seen our usage, over 4 now. Our usage has gone up a
Sorry,
lot.
Ben, Joe, I'm sorry.
Oh, wait,
Say-
over 5.
We launched May 1st.
That's what,
Yeah.
2005.
Right. So just the last month of school, and we already saw a high adoption rate.
And we've not really marketed to the students. We've kind of talked about this as a team. We really want to do that in the fall. We email all the parents that had parent accounts, but we really haven't targeted the students. So that's something we know we're going to push a lot. And put some banners up at the high schools, that kind of thing.
So how many parents did you have on your home access center with eSchool Plus?
About half the kids are, well, we have our own parent center module, which this is modeled out of. We don't use the home access center. But it's about half the parents are following their students.
So that's pretty much all I was going to show you, not take too much time. And Gabe's going to show you kind of a quick and easy way to build most of this in-house in a short time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Nice job. Projecting here.
No. Hoping you.
Oh, that's fine. We're gonna switch over real quick because I'm gonna actually use I'm gonna go real old school here. I'm gonna use a PC. So So I'm not one of the cool kids on the block that gets an iPad and carry around. So. Intent not nudge. We get logged in here because help immensely. What I wanted to do is kind of go through some of the back end now of what it takes to make that, and in a couple of minutes show you really just a bird's eye view of what it takes to make it. I'm going to point out along the way the things that were built-in canned parts of the product that we use, conduit, and then the other things I'm going to try to highlight the other things just so it's kind of full disclosure on the things that we had to do back end. So our journey to mobile started right here. This was our district website mobile version. It came off of we've got a couple of different versions of the site to look at. This was our full version of the website, which we jumped in early on and said, okay, well, let's look at a product like jQuery Mobile. If you say that to any of your nerds around the district office, they'll know what you're talking about. Great little product to quickly stand up a mobile version of a website. So what we came up with was this mobile tool, but again, the graphic that Steve showed you showed the trends are people want an app. And the apps have the distinct advantage of bringing a lot of things to a focal point on your device. You know, there's not a lot of searching around and bookmarking lots of little web places to get the data you're looking for. So the push to app took us to jQuery Mobile. And so that's where we're going to start our demonstration here is with actually looking at it. If you go to mobile.conduit.com, and I told a couple of our friends when they were here earlier, I said if you're paying attention and you have Wi-Fi, you can probably have your own app developed before you leave here. Because that's what we're going to start with, is we're going to do this. We've got Austin ISD represented here, so we're going to use Austin ISD as our example. And for a small fee, you can actually take this home with you.
A couple of notes on cost, because we mentioned it early on, we rolled with the beta of Conduit Mobile. I know he said jQuery, but with Conduit, they had a beta, and you can start Conduit for free, and then you can license how many installs you want. We got in on their beta cost, so we're lifetime licensed, unlimited installs across all platforms for $500 is what we pay to the district. Now I think that same thing today is maybe $1,300, which for a large district is even a small district that's not particularly a lot. But they have some tiered structure for pricing. And the only really other cost other than your labor. Beyond that, you need to apply to be a developer with Apple, which is I think for education $99. You do kind of need credit cards for these things. Just I know sometimes in districts that's a little bit quirky, but that's right. Just borrow the soups, and you can do it. That's what we did. And then you can you also become an Android developer or a Google Play developer, and that's like $25 to do that. And then you'll have to like upload your app that you develop here into their stores.
Go for it. Yeah. So, pardon if I sit while I do this, but it's just going to be a whole lot easier. I won't be blocking some people from seeing here. So really this is where it starts off with their app is enter your website here, and it's really that easy. When you click Create App, it's going to go through. They're obviously sending out a bot that's going to scan your site, and they're going to parse out any references to YouTube, etc. And you can see it's going through. They found an RSS feed. There's your other social media. So anything that you've got links on your homepage to, it's going to pull those out, and voila, we've got a quick version of this mobile app created. So we're going to see how well Zoom works to make this a little more visible. So what you're looking at now is the kind of the genesis of the app. It's already been created. The little iPhone over here is essentially a working demo of the app, with the only exception that you're using your mouse instead of your fingertip. But what you see down here is across the bottom, you've got your 4 icons that were just created. We've already pulled in their RSS news feed off their homepage. So there's the reference that was pulled right off the homepage. And the same with YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And you saw examples of that when Joe demonstrated ours. So I won't belabor the point. But as you go through and look, at this point you have options to continue to add more content. So that's where, let's say you have an RSS feed that is related to your district, but it wasn't referenced on your homepage, so it didn't get picked up here. That kind of an item, I just clicked on this little news button down here at the bottom. And again, these are pretty straightforward. So we decided we were going to use Austin ISD as our example. And I've done a little bit of homework here. Let's see, we go to, it was superintendent had a blog on here. Where is our superintendent?
Midway.
Oops, I was clicking too fast. Superintendent. So if we go to the superintendent's page, we can see that she's got the Power of Us blog. So I'm just kind of clicking through here. And all right, so blogspot.com, we're going to copy that. And some of this is, actually we're looking for her RSS feed. Those are always at the way down at the bottom. There we go, subscribe to posts. So that gives us this ugly page, but if we copy that and go back in here, drop it in. So we'll call this, give it a name, Soup's blog. And again, that's all configurable. The blog is now being displayed in our app, okay? And an icon has been added down here. Icons can be customized, so you can go in and put in your own little graphics. If you've got an artist on site, you can have them build you a little graphic or buy a set. You can upload those. Now I could go through this with quite a few other modules. The biggest thing is it really panders to any social media. A lot of our web services, and if you've read anything about the growth of the web, the biggest growth of the web in the last couple of years has been in web services. The web is no longer the home solely of web pages. It is all about web services, not only supporting nifty features like this, but of course the growth in mobile devices. So each of these items down here, once you click on them, it's going to create the module automatically. You'll see these modules pop up here, and again, they'll show you how to hook it up. So this one would hook up to Facebook, Google, Eventbrite, and there's all your social media connections. So if you've got, the same thing would work with photos. They will tap into, I think, Photo Bucket and Flickr and you name it. So if you're, as a district, if your strategy is to invest in all of these cloud services, it's actually going to really pay off right here. You're not only capitalizing on using somebody else's development time to get those things up and running, but you're going to double that again right here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of spending a lot more time building this out in front of you, let me go ahead and get re-logged in. I thought we were already logged in. I've taken the Austin ISD app and I've already kind of marched it forward a couple more steps to show you that. And this is the Bill Gates moment in the presentation. It's when I get the blue screen. Are we up? Okay. So you can add multiple apps. So the little link up there for dashboard is going to take you back to a list of all the apps we've created. Obviously my brand new one is popping in right there in the middle. Okay. It even went, by the way, it even went out and found an icon for the app. So that was automatically generated as well. Now right below it, I've created one, Austin ISD Connect, and you can see it pulled the title of the one the auto-generated. It was kind of an auto-generated title.
Gabe, can we stop you right now? What is that app of the month right there?
Hey, yeah.
What was that?
That is amazing. What is that? Oh, look at that. App of the month.
So we had a little surprise. That was kind of nice. There's thousands of apps made with this tool, and they decided ours was actually good enough to name App of the Month. So we didn't pay them anything. We're not sure why that happened. So apparently it's all right. Good work, guys.
We could do a lot of bragging.
Per month.
Yeah, they haven't named a new one, so we're just riding the next one.
Right, brag while you can. So let me go in and let me show you. We took it a couple of steps further, and I'm not going to belabor a lot of these points, but I'm going to use this to show you a couple of the advanced, the next steps, not advanced steps, the next step. When you click into one, you have to go into the edit mode, and this app is. I've taken a few more steps to create a contact us page. So now, again, this is a workable model. Fill in a few blanks and it creates this screen for you. There's different variations of that. We can add these screens. One of the items that I added was a module, and this is where you can tap into anything you've already done. Joe demonstrated our Parent Center app. Now that was a big app that we've done in-house, and we had a lot of work put into that. And the thought of coming over here to a mobile app and abandoning that to build something new was, we don't want to do that. So this is what we did was, again, tapped into jQuery Mobile and created what we call Reportability app and the Parent Center apps, and ported those in through what's called a module. So a module, you can just think of that as a connection to an existing web resource. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to show you a small one. This was the bully report. It's just an opportunity for a student that's being bullied to report such. It is offered through, and you can see here again, we were having that trouble with the iOS platform where it was launching out into a web browser, but here you're seeing it in the actual application. But it's rendering up the web page as we created it. So the neat thing about that too is if you if you give this to your developer and show them, point them at it, they're going to be able to go in there and find there's a lot of API tools. You can actually write your own local web tools and then tap into a JavaScript library that Conduit provides. And that JavaScript library will allow you to write web pages for their app that can tap into things like the camera. They can tap into even the swipe sensors, what do they call the accelerometers to tell if it's turning sideways. So you can actually go a long ways with your own development tools locally. So
We haven't done any of that.
we have not done a lot of that. We did experiment with some of that, but yeah, that takes a little bit of
Do you
doing.
want, photos to be taken in your app and then uploaded to your site? I mean, fun things can happen there.
Right. So I'm going to breeze through a couple of these pieces because this is primarily the cosmetics of it, but there's basically your 3 tabs, the style tab. We went in and groomed the title of it, changed some background colors. This is where you can upload your own custom graphics. Again, if you've got an artist on campus that wants to submit a title bar, if you look at the JISD app, that's what we did. We have a title bar that we created, and so you can do a little bit better branding through that tool. And then lastly, this info page sets up things like when the app comes up and it's loading. You saw ours was the big bright red and green and white apple leaf thing. That was also local. And this is where that gets put in here. They'll accept the splash screens for 3 different types of platforms. So it'll figure it out when the person loads their device. So you can see looking at this, it's a very straightforward interface. It's, there's not a lot of arcane questions that you got to go through. It's pretty much, hey, you need this screen, give me an image. And once the image is there. So I created when I was creating this, I put all the resources together, and literally that was it. I had 4 images that I had to make on my own. And that took 2 or 3 minutes to create the first one and then resize it twice. So that's kind of the giving you a
That's
label.
a good note, Gabe, because that is one thing you're going to have someone that can do some graphic work. Because when you get into each app store for Google Play and Apple iOS, Apple just sent us an email. They're wanting like 2 more sizes of images because as the Retina display comes out, they need new sizes of XYZ graphic. And so we probably did have to generate 20, 30 graphics when we initially rolled the app.
Right.
And there's a little bit of time investment there, and you need someone that's capable of doing it. But you probably have someone that does that for your website anyway.
You got it. So, and that was going to be my next note was that screen does not apply to the markets, which really are a separate beast on their own. And Steve could probably talk in much more depth about what it took to get through the markets. Android market is generally 30 minutes, wham bam, you're in.
Well, yeah, once we upload a new version to Android, you've kind of heard about how Apple vets everything so thoroughly. So Android's a little bit different. You upload it, and within, like Gabe said, a half hour or so, that app's there. It's pushing in to your phone on the market. Apple takes a couple weeks, and you'll get notified your app is now in review, and then eventually you'll get notified the app's been released. We talked about how cheap this is. You do have to buy a Apple or a Mac to upload your Apple app. I don't know why. Well, you can guess why. In any event, you do need a low Mac somewhere that's of reasonable newness that you can have a tool on it to generate. You download the app from Conduit, you put it into this tool on the Mac, and then it does a bunch of checks and I don't know what it does, send your credit card data to Apple or something, and then your app goes into their review process. So it's a little bit, it takes some time, but we can make jokes about it. At the end of the day, you've seen what happens with the review process. Most of the apps work well, they don't crash your system, and it works, ends up being a really, really good deal. You just can't get an update to the Apple platform real easy.
Yeah.
But you might want to talk about that, Gabe.
I
When
do.
you make app changes, how sometimes that works.
Yeah, so the concept of what an app change is going to involve, we have found that there's different levels of change. There's changes to the overall structure of the app, and those are the ones you go through the full publish process. But you can also go in and make changes to the layouts and some of the designs, some of the like changing the URL of a feed, and those app changes actually get pushed out rather quickly. So
Yeah, so
wrong on this.
we can actually add some new feeds and things like that without a full app published. And then literally we can add it. We had a board member call about something they wanted somewhere, like a link or something. And literally we went into the site, pasted a link somewhere, hit update, and it was just live. I
There
mean,
it
so,
goes, yeah.
because some of the stuff's just pulled right from the web. So that's pretty cool, because sometimes you can just generate an update real quick like that.
Yeah.
Steve, can you segregate the app in a way that could be on your own, like iTunes type store or iTunes U, where it's only really accessible to your constituents in some way?
I don't think so. Android has provisions for downloading apps from other sources. So with Android, you potentially could distribute it through some other fashion. I think it'd be confusing to people, but you could. Apple, Apple kind of their own domain in terms of distribution. So I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with like iTunes U if they would give you a way. I don't know of any way though. So you have to go through their store process. I mean, we don't care. We, as far as we're concerned, everyone can copy us, and the students and parents are better off for it everywhere. So,
If you have a VM development tool, something like Casper, and you have the certificates through Apple, you could actually self-publish through something like Casper.
But then you would have to be managing all those devices with Cap
That's
to get it
correct.
out there.
That's
So we don't. That's a huge.
But if
cost.
you're wanting to limit it to a certain
Yeah.
group of people,
So if you like want to develop a little internal app that's more like an internet type app, that would be a way to do it.
Could you use mobile conduit to do that?
From what I understood, you can download your individual, what is it, the APK file?
Well, APK is on the Android side, but yeah, you get to download your files before.
You can
finish.
download
So in
those.
theory, like we could take that APK file, stick it on an SD card, get it onto an Android phone real easily. So maybe via Casper or some MDM, you might be able to do the same on the Apple side.
It's not something that we've exercised yet, so
Yeah.
we're kind of speaking in theory at this point.
Oh, that's fine, I'm just curious.
Yeah, in theory, I think like how handy it'd be to have a technology technician app.
Mhm.
We can get access stuff on
Yeah.
our phones a little bit easier than what we have to jump through sometimes when we want to look up.
Well, and the reality of it is too, nobody knows about it unless you tell them, right? I mean, so you give it a name,
Give it a
put it on the
little
market,
name.
and you can build into here, especially if you're gonna do any custom, you can put your authentication into your custom tool, and so, they can download it all day, but they just can't use
Yeah,
it.
you could give it a name that has nothing to do with your district, hide it amongst the 300,000 apps that are uploaded in the Android market.
Right.
Probably known it.
I think you are going to run into some limitations with an internal tool like that, but again, it is kind of, it's kind of oriented towards the public, so at that point you're.
So
But
when
could you develop like a web form for inventory for your technicians where they scan barcode? Yeah, you could probably do that.
So when you did your link for your parent app or for your scores or any of those, you just did them as a custom and then put the URL in?
Yes, and that's the module. In fact, I can show you, let me walk you through that module real quick. I'm gonna finish up this app, and I kind of left this step at the end here. Once you get to this point, you build some of the steps, you go in here and click the Generate App button, which does nothing more than create your first module or your first complete app. At this point, you can get the APK files and look at them, and you can see a rough install. What you see changed up here is a few more tabs, and mainly, and I'm going to point out the Promote tab. This is real nice. When you move into that next cycle, you're after the development cycle. Now you're into how do you implement this across your district. The Promote site gives you some really great tools. Obviously, QR codes are moving in, and people are understanding what that's about now. They know to shoot it with their phone, and they get something, right? In this case, they get the installer page for the app. So you've also got a couple of pages that are created here that would allow you to point people at a page. You would point people at a page where they would see this on their mobile phone, and that would give them that opportunity. So this could be a redirect from your home page. In fact, they give you a tool on this one right here. Let me see if I pull up the wrong one here. Redirect. They actually give you the JavaScript code. If you want to plop that right in the top in the header of your district homepage, it'll give them an optional redirect over to Conduit to install your district mobile app. So there's a lot of opportunities in here to capitalize on how to advertise and promote and give people the quick access to it. So you're going to get some of that through your markets as well. Your markets will give you a lot of the same tools, but they'll be market centric. Okay. These tools are going to be kind of market agnostic. How's that work? I said I'd show you the modules. Yes.
Did you guys already have the web services implemented?
Some.
Some of them.
So we didn't take you, you know, there's some things we didn't take you through, like, a good example would have been, some we rolled really quick at the start, were scores and the schedules for games. Those are two separate apps or pieces of the app. So one's the upcoming games, one's the past with the scores. That's data we did have, and that's the key. We had the data. We have an app that Gabe developed where the coaches update the scores. It's called Sports Center. Is that right?
Sports Zone.
Sports Zone, sorry. That's a show. In any event, on Sports Zone, so we have the data, so we just had to repurpose it into basically an RSS feed. And, you know, for a developer, that's not a big deal at all. And, you know, that was in the app within, like, we did that the first day or second day.
Yeah, that was real fast.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to show is that was an example where we kind of did kind of a halfway into the development where I went in, took a tool we had written. Since it's all in the database, it's really easy to write a script that just pulls out a set of data and then builds an RSS feed. So we built it was a custom built RSS feed just to present our sports data on the application. And then Parent Center is a better example of fully going into the development where Conduit at that point is nothing more than a frame for your app. So, you know, we've kind of mixed it both ways. In Conduit, they have a developers area that allows you to build modules. And a module is where we do that full development. It's basically the module, you basically give it the URL and it'll put it in the window. So I don't know why we're not looking at modules. Where are you? One little modules. So this is an example. They've got some demo ones, and you can see all of our test stuff in here. But Bully Report, this is one that I showed you. So if I just go in here to edit the module, it looks a lot like the application when we were looking at how to build the mobile application, except that, and this must be one that we haven't finished yet. I don't know if we just have populated, but you build the module here, and modules are actually available to any of your application, any of your mobile tools. So it's going to be build modules over here, and then any of your, what do you call these, your apps can reach in and pull a module in as a unit. That's how I pulled the Bully Report into Austin ISD example. Yes, ma'am?
Have you built apps for individual schools?
No, we have not done that.
So it's already going, we have a pretty large school district, and I can already see the high schools going, we want our own app.
Well,
sure.
That would launch off of our app.
One thing you could do maybe to get around that, because it gets to be kind of a maintenance and a lot of fees, you got more licensing and maintenance of publishing apps. I mean, trying to limit that time. Some of the feeds, Gabe, I don't know if we can go back to our editing or our app, but you actually can do multiple RSS feeds under like news. You can name one per campus and then do a separate feed, or same thing for a calendar feed or something like that. You'd have to go back to the full app, yeah.
Well, and I can just see.
So that might be a way around that.
Career and tech classes.
Oh, sure.
Doing this, building and maintaining them for high schools is what I'm thinking.
Which could be fun.
Part of a class, and it could be.
They can do it for free up to 500
Very
installs. I think you saw maybe when the Austin ISD app was up there, so we didn't have a plan for the Austin ISD app, but you can just see it says 0 out of 500 there, so that's free. Up to 500 installs.
But each app is actually licensed separately.
Yes.
So you'd be talking the $99.
Right, then you might have more money eventually. But maybe you could use just that 500.
But if you're just doing your high schools, it's likely something the high school would possibly, PTSO wants to do that.
That's what I'm thinking. It's an identity thing.
Sure.
That they like us, but they want to be their own.
Creating links to
I understand.
Yeah,
we want our colors and, yep.
Yeah, the creating links to it might be as simple as what we did with the campus feeds. I was going to show you a little bit about how that worked, but trying to get our app into edit here. So
I think news has sub ones to show.
a sub something.
See, there's a campus news feed.
Yes.
You can add more.
So you've got actually two different news feeds. So you could have a news feed for each of your high schools under one module. The other thought was, again, different ways to skin a cat. Each of these high schools, this is basically an RSS feed that never changes. The idea behind RSS, you would expect RSS would be a feed that there's new items in it every other day or two, which is what you get with news. We just kind of co-opted the technology and said, hey, we're going to have an RSS feed that always has the exact same 27 entries. And those are our campuses, so there's nothing on there that says you can't do it that way. Nothing that made it look odd to do it that way. So, you know, there's nothing to say you couldn't pop open Dreamweaver, hand code an XML page with the 2 or 3 high schools that have news feeds, and then call that your campus links, you know, module, and let it link off to their applications. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, and that's, I think, what we really liked the most about Conduit was that exact thing. Was it's really more of a toolbox. There's a lot of tools, and there's a lot of ways to get to each location. I mean, with sports scores, we could have wrote a big custom app, and we could have, you know, done that as a module, but, you know, it was a lot easier just to write an RSS feed. So in that case, we used the built-in tool for the RSS feed. Parent Center, RSS feed really would not have worked for that. So we had to do with the more robust route.
For the Parent Center, did you guys ever have to download that to like a SQLite database to store within the device?
No.
Nothing stored locally.
Nothing stored locally?
It's completely web browser based.
Do they offer, do you know if they offer SQLite integration?
I have not seen any evidence of that. So all the extensions that they do for the phone device, all of those can be found up here in your developers area. They've got the information in their API reference that I was telling you about, some of the fun little things where you can write a web page that actually allows the user to turn on the camera and take a picture. Right. And that's all referenced through here. So, you know, you can look at, let's see, platform specific items in here, turn on the camera, stuff like that. But there wasn't really anything in there. There's nothing in this API that would reference like local storage of data and things like that. So
offline data.
Exactly, offline data. So everything that we found was still web-based. So pretty cool web-based. I still look at this and think, man, I really want to play it. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but I want to do something with that geolocation. I want to turn on the GPS, do something fun with it, but I have no idea what it's going to be. So, collaboration.
Yeah, you could really do that.
Pull up the school clearance.
Send them a Google map link or something.
Directions from your current location.
Where's your child right now?
Maybe we'll, we got a few more minutes yet. A couple other cool little things on here. No, I don't know. They're free. What is it? Forget the block. Just a couple of quick things we didn't show you. Notice the analytics down there. I think Gabe zoomed out, so we kind of zoom back in here a little bit. So you get some stats on your app by device. So you can see we have 2,100 iPhones, Android's a little lower there, then iPads and some other stuff. You can do BlackBerry, you can do Windows Mobile, and I don't think you actually switch devices in their emulator. So why don't we do that real quick? You'll kind of see. So notice we have all these different devices. Let me go back into the app real quick. This is really nice from a testing standpoint. You can kind of do most of your testing right here. You may find that your developers want the devices, and at some point they probably will need them. So you might have heard the little request for an iPad earlier. So obviously we showed you how it works here. You can do everything, you can scroll, all that, but notice I can go and do an iPad version right here and see how it's going to work on the iPad. Pretty straightforward. Of course, you can click in everything here. So you can do a lot of basic testing here, but we found every once in a while you find a few quirks that don't work when you go live. So that's kind of the caveat. Same thing, there's our Android, you can get in there and do it. Windows Mobile, which we've not published because I don't know anyone with one of these, and the stats don't show that anyone has them, if you look at the slide we had earlier. But then again, we may find that there's some adoption and we can roll with one. I don't actually know how this works. I've never, y'all ever? No. So I guess you go sideways. So there you go. So apparently there's our Windows phone app. So does anyone have a Windows phone? I probably just lost a friend or something, but sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, so that part's really easy. I don't know how to do a Windows phone upload, but you know, they reference the difficulties of the stores, if you will. That's a little bit of a challenge, but ultimately that's probably one of your biggest challenges, is just learning about the publishing process of each. But this takes you through that. So I think, is that under to market, guys? Let's see.
Market.
Yeah. they've changed their
Yeah,
labels
that's
recently.
pretty initiative.
So notice they'll kind of walk you through your steps for publishing on that particular platform. So each one of these expands and gives you a little bit of data on how to do that. Apple's a little bit more involved.
Steve, how did you guys go about deciding what apps you would do first? And, or what was your strategy associated with doing?
We got a pizza and sat around the table and basically said, what's the low-hanging fruit? What data do we have? What data do people want? And kind of match those two things together and said, all right, well, here's our easy stuff. Let's do that in our initial app. And pretty much immediately after we published, we had some comments, from the public like, this app sucks because there's no grades, that kind of thing. And we kind of knew that going in that was what some folks were going to want. And then we published it, the grade part, and pretty much
If you're
the
planning
comments
grades,
stopped
let
with
them know
it.
up front.
Yeah.
And if you're not planning grades, really, you really ought to rethink planning
Yeah.
grades eventually.
I mean, people really would like that. I mean, that's ultimately, the grades and attendance, that's the stuff people are really wanting to keep a track on. And, back when we went to school, it took weeks for our parents to potentially find out about some of this stuff, and it was very nice. And now parents can find out at the, click of a button or pull out their phone and check before their kids are home from school. It's tough gig for kids these days. But same token, the kids can check the same data if they have a, iPhone or even just an iPod will do it.
Run home and do the dishes real quick.
Yeah.
So do you have a process in place for your employees, your staffs, to request things to go into the app?
Nope.
What do
Nope,
you
we
think?
don't. They send us an email with an idea. We'll listen. Obviously, we don't have any formal process. Most of the content in the app is generated by someone that doesn't have anything to do with technology. The public information office, we mentioned the coaches, campuses maintain the news or calendars and the calendar of events that feeds from the campus sites. So we try to give the people that kind of own the data the rights to manage the data in the app, because we don't want to deal with that and we can't. So, but yeah, if someone's got an idea, the one thing we really want, we've thought of is menus. We've heard requests for it, but we don't have good menu data. We have no data on menus. So we'll be getting a new child nutrition director, so I'm hoping that new person has an idea for that. But basically it's been no one wants to input that into a database, and once we have it, we'll put it into the app. So I think that'd be kind of handy for parents. They can already check their meal balance on it, want to be able to see what's for lunch tomorrow. So. Any other questions, comments? We've got a few more minutes, but we can always break early if not. And
Well, I think you're right, everybody's going this route, like it or not. Even with the new data, like Verizon's new data plans, they're not selling voice anymore. You're keeping up with any of that, it's all free, unlimited voice
Right.
and text, now you just buy data. And I think we're gonna see, that's where it's all at, is getting access to the data. So when you start buying smartphones, that's gonna be the big push. People are gonna want access to that stuff.
I'm kind of surprised. You're right. People want the data. We're kind of. I was actually a little surprised by the reaction to this. And I don't know. I did write a blog for Technology and Learning magazine on this, and maybe that's how the word got out a little bit. But I didn't think we were that innovative. But we've had a fair amount of press. We had this award. Mashable just did a story on it, or not only on it, but involving it about a couple weeks ago. Didn't name our district, but media's the media. They print what they want. So we've had some interest. I had a local reporter called me this morning, and I actually had to do an interview on the phone. So I guess we're somewhat innovative, but I think this is going to be the norm. Shortly for a lot of us.
So I think that taps the unseen. Everybody likes that. They're really looking for that type of service. We don't even realize that it's just kind of running under the surface, and you do something like that, and now all of a sudden people come out of the woodworks wanting to see what's going on.
I think you're right. I was shocked that we did 4,000 installs already. We're only a 23,000 student district. 4,000 installs seems like a fair amount to me already.
In a small amount of time.
Yeah, in a fairly small amount of time. And that's actually a great segue. Thank you, Cheryl. The one last thing I was going to show you, and then we'll call it done. Apparently, I'm still in the blog, so let me just.
Have y'all done like a TV thing where you talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
Not, you haven't, or?
No,
You do commercials.
we don't have like a.
Then it'll go to like.
One thing I was going to show you it's really kind of nice in here is there's a lot of built-in analytics. So if you want to track, I mean, you saw the basic install numbers, but you can do it by countries. You can see what pages in the app they're visiting. So there's a lot of data. So I don't know how far back we're going here. So now this doesn't go back far enough, but I can show you. Let me see if I can do this here. So this is right at the end of April. That's where we were named App of the Month, and we released the Parent Center module. And you can, kind of see there's a massive increase in this is daily downloads of new users, or daily numbers of new users. And you can see that peaked for quite a while and stayed up for most of the month, where we've had a lot more app adoption since the release of that. But we can go in and we can go look at page views. You would think this should go down now that school's out, and I don't really know. I haven't really looked at the page view data, so it was a little higher. This number of page views per day, I think, so you can see 500, 600, whatever. So there's different things.
Too.
Yeah, it's summertime now. This is where you can break it down. What are they using on the app? Amazingly, they're using photos more than like Facebook, but they're looking at the news. The modules are custom developed like Parent Center. We expect this one to be the highest eventually. Cool. A lot of built-in stuff that's pretty nice, pretty easy. And one last thing that's on there, you actually can push notification through the app. So it could give. We did a push notification on iOS, and you almost couldn't was it on iOS or Android? We almost couldn't read what it said. You had to be really short to see and I don't know if it's a bug or just the way that push notifications work, but you can immediately ping users and they'll get the little pop-up notification. It's handled a little bit differently in each operating system. So I don't know if you could use it as a little emergency notification add-on, but I guess you might be able to. We put a notification out when we added Parent Center, right? But I don't think you could actually read it well. So we said too much. Actually found out we can do. So with that, do y'all have any more questions, comments, ideas for things to add to the app? If you guys do one, let us know. We want to see what you're doing and copy you and make ours better and work together. So, all righty. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Do we need to send you guys your app or what? It's only $100. Huh?